the project for 3 months at least before we hit the road. Because we anticipate we'll be able to hit the road again in about 3 to 4 months. So my thought is that I'm hoping that these songs would still land in a season where we can actually perform them live. In fact, I was just talking to I probably shouldn't say his name, but he's a big rapper that I was asking him why isn't he dropping music, and that's the very reason he gave me. He said, if I can't tour it, I'm not going to drop it, so I'm waiting. So there's a lot of wisdom in that. So I'm hoping that that these songs would carry people into 2021 when we actually can hit the road.
Yeah, and just as a follow-up, how different and what was the experience like of putting on this virtual concert?
It was great. I mean, the whole thing was it was a production, so we were able to pretty much control every element of it. And the exciting part for me is to have something that feels like a premiere, like how you would stand in line and go to a movie and see a premiere that these folks have worked on and put all this money into, and you're sort of like experiencing it for the first time, and that interaction that you have with someone that you support and you're loving what you're seeing. It's almost like a transcendental feeling. Like it's otherworldly. And the prospect that people will be experiencing that as they're watching this moment. No one's ever seen this. This is just released, and we're watching it from the comfort of our living room. A lot of people had watch parties where they were projecting it onto a massive screen and had a bunch of people over from the church. That, to me, the excitement of that, thinking about that, is super encouraging that we get to provide that for folks. And the actual performing piece, again, it was so controlled. All the pressure's off. You if something is just live, and I've been in this situation many, many times where it's happening one time. You get it right, and it's good, and if you get it wrong, it's everywhere. So I love the fact that it was more produced like a Netflix special, as opposed to just simply streaming 40 to 50 minutes of me rapping. But there's these breaks and all these moments that take you on a journey through the project. So it was exciting, and I love that we got to produce it.
Word. Well, speaking of production, that brings us to our next question. I just wanted to know, like Rich Forever from Tomorrow We Live originally sampled, the Kirk Franklin when it was doing Gold joint. And even with, this current album, Let It Rain, sampled a contemporary cover of the original song by Bishop Paul Morton. Is there a reason why you lean more towards the popular contemporary song flips rather than the more traditional gospel records for your projects?
Yeah. So I'm actually not a massive gospel fan. I'll just throw that out there. I do like gospel music. CeCe Winans, like I said, is on repeat in my house all the time. But my predilection, my leaning is actually towards I like Our God Is Awesome. Our God is awesome. He can I love that record. But I also love the Resurrected King is Resurrecting Me record from the dudes out in Vertical. And if I had to choose one, I would probably choose the contemporary Christian version of it, or the contemporary Christian version, or contemporary Christian expressions of worship songs than I would over gospel. I grew up on gospel. I have tremendous respect for gospel. But if I make my music authentically and kind of represent who I am, I have a select group of folks that I am constantly going to. It's not very wide either, brother. I have a few people that I listen to their songs over and over and over and over and over again. And it's not like because I'm black, I just essentially always gonna like the black people that did it better. That's just not who I am. I have no problems with my blackness whatsoever. I'll put my black card next to anybody's. But I like what I like, and my impact, the moments that I have had that have been impactful for me. In those moments, race is not really the component. It really is what's being said and how it connects to my heart. And for me, songs like "So Will I," for example, the Hillsong record. I really like Hillsong, and the wording in it and the vibe, everything has brought me to my knees many times. So that's going to show up probably more in my music than before, because it really just kind of represents who I am.
All right, word.
Cool. Yeah. So kind of staying on that thing. One thing I noticed when I would listen to this record, I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but this idea of unity. For me, like when you blend something like trap music with worship music, it makes it so like everybody can listen to it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm thinking like my Midwestern conservative mom would probably listen to this because it's got like Yes, I Will. It's got So Will I on there. And
Right.
Was there any intention to that? Did you realize that you were doing something that was going to bring people together?
I think, yeah, I mean, that's probably a part of the benefits of it. But like I said, the album for me is turning myself inside out, pulling who I am and then putting it on a record, pulling out the sort of heart of where I exist, my experience, what I like, what I don't like. Right. And what you get is what you get. And so I think if people can resonate with that, then I praise God for it. And if they can't, then I praise God for it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for me, it's pretty simple for me. If you find, I know some people will try to appropriate me. So they'll say, man, look at this Negro here, or he's articulate. He says things that we like to hear. And look, he's young and he's a father, and this is what the world needs. And we can make him work for our people. Can appropriate me how they see fit. That does not influence what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is what I feel like is right for me, for my God and my team. And if it resonates with the world, then I embrace it with all my heart. But if it does not, we let the chips kind of fall where they are. So I love that I have people of every race, ethnicity, and nation listening to my music. I rejoice in that. But I don't get caught up in what can we do to make them. I remember a friend of mine did a writing session with a worship band one time, and they wrote this song, and this, I won't say his name. I probably should, but I won't. I probably shouldn't. But this big name came in and heard the song and said, I like it, but it's too black, right? And my friend was crushed by it because they thought, how else am I supposed to write? Even if I understand what you mean by blackness sounds, this ain't what you are. This is light on the spectrum. This is just me being me. And what he found is that him being himself was too black. And he vowed this. It was actually a guy and a girl. They vowed to never work in that space again, because that's what a lot of folks kind of wrestle through is, how can I either tone myself down or tone up something turn something up that doesn't really reflect who I am, so that I can appeal to an audience. That's what I'm saying I'm not into. That to me feels like a kind of concession that betrays my convictions. And I don't think it actually serves the music. The music is better made when it's truly who you are. So I try not to get caught up in who I can appeal to with this when it comes to my music. There's other things I think about that in, but with my music, I try to keep that sacred to what's happening in my heart and in my team.
That's great. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of making music, and specifically your team, KB, one dude who you've been working with a ton lately and whose hand is all over this album is Kardec.
Yes.
So I think it's clear to us, like, you guys have become one of the biggest duos in Christian hip hop these days. Like, every song is just a complete banger. So what's the relationship between you guys like, and how important is it to have a producer you really rock with?
So I think it's massively important. I think I am the sum of my team, and the team is only strengthened by genuine relationships, people that you care about, people that you can talk to about things outside of music, and also stuff isn't formed overnight. You know, individuals that you've been walking with for years and years and years, like those are the folks that help to fill out a powerful moment or project, and that is all that I have surrounded me here in Tampa. From everything you see, from every music video, the treatment of the music video, the production, the writing, the engineering, the mixing, all of it is coming from a very small community of people who I could be in their wedding and they could be in my wedding, if the context allowed for it. I mean, I'm saying that to speak to the closeness, and that I think is also a big part of where these records come from.
Yo, so speaking of big records, I feel like Dark Skin.
Yeah.
Saying that records on the whole project, man, you address a lot. It's very rich. One of my favorite lines is, "How can you politicize the mouth of the reverend? Ain't a left up in heaven." But almost hard because of that bar, bro. I just want you to know you would have had the Kid Forte. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But what inspired that bar specifically?
Yeah. Well, man, first of all, I appreciate the kind word, and I'm glad that line stuck with you, because that may be perhaps one of the greatest stains on the American church in this last 20 years, in the last 20 years of his existence. Man, going beyond that. I mean, slavery was a very political thing in the Christian church. And the pulpit was just as influential as the state in the antebellum South. The pulpit was saying, keep them in chains. The state was taking its cues from that space. So when the mouth of the reverend, when the mouth of the oracle, the mouthpiece of God has become a political weapon, we are all doomed. Where else can we go to find the heart of God besides the people who are supposed to be the prophets and the priests and the preachers of our time? Where are we supposed to go? And if they've been co-opted, we're in trouble. And I think that this country, in a lot of ways, is suffering from that very thing. So it came from the reality that I am seeing increasing more and more, particularly as we go into an election cycle, and with the basically the divide between the left and the right. This needs to be said, that whatever you believe and who you voted for and what policies you think are best, the pulpit is not a place to forge a way for some non-Christian politician who's made a bunch of promises that he can't keep or she can't keep. The pulpit's a place for you to talk about the promises of God, which will always be kept. So that's where that came from, and I think that needs to be said more and more.
So I'm going to ask you, right? So on Armies, you said life ain't been the same since death died.
Right.
Landslide. Then on We Ready, you said east side to the west side. Yeah. Life ain't the same since the flesh died. You know what I'm saying? As a upper echelon pin, was this a callback to the tip of the hat? Or was it writer's fatigue? And you was like, oh, I said that earlier. You know what I'm saying? So was it purposeful or, you know what I mean?
It was a mixture. I had to turn my album in, but that song was already done and I wanted to change something. That's what happens with me, is that I rewrite verses all the time. So I had like everything was done. I just had this one little portion that I had rewrote probably 6 times. And I was like, man, nothing is really hitting. So the fatigue was, this is my 7th go at this little portion of this verse. And I was like, that was actually the original line from Armies. It wasn't life ain't been the same since death died. It was life ain't been the same since the flesh died. That's what the original line was, but I changed it to death.
Look at God.
So I had flesh. I had